has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. It's Ferrall on the bench, coast to coast in the biggest way possible, hanging out. The bad seed, the broken, the bad apple with a bad attitude. We are live in New York City, the Big Apple. Ooh. People dressed in plastic bags, directed traffic, some kind of fashion shake-up should do me, along with the tater and tutty and golf guru himself. Carver High this afternoon, ladies. Mafia running it with Luke. I am your father. A midweek Where Do You Hurt Wednesday rundown. A double shot with Morency this very hour. The Prime Minister Cam Stewart live in Toronto in the second hour. And then in the coup de grace, Keith Stewart from Read the Line, Stewie. They are golfing again this week, and that means it's time to make money, Carver High, no doubt about it. I got cleaned up real nice and tight today when I knew that you were going to be giving out golf winners, and I got a league game tonight, and we only have 5, so it looks like I got to run for 40 up and down that NBA court. This is not good. I'll score,
not
but
good.
This is not good.
I might actually get cleaned up tomorrow because little Willie has his school pictures on Friday, so I probably have to take him over, I would guess, tomorrow, and I've kind of started to ease him into going to where I go as opposed to the kids' place, so if I can pull that off tomorrow, I might get cleaned up as well before the weekend. So we shall see how all of that goes for us moving forward. Indeed. All right, we have a lot to do today. Happy Wednesday. It is a Golf Wednesday, by the way. I heard you mention Cam and Keith today. This week and next week, and that's it until the new year for the golf. As it's coming to a close, it's been a fun year, a profitable year for us. They're in Bermuda this week, Scotty, where I heard
out in the middle of the Atlantic.
It's very windy out at Bermuda for the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. So we'll get all the picks and things rocking. The Buttermaker is what we are going to have this week for us. But why don't we start today? We got a lot to do, as we know. But with this college football playoff ranking, which came out last night, our first thoughts on that. And look, this thing obviously is going to change a lot week to week. We already saw big shifts from last week to this week in it. But the bottom line is, once again, Oregon was at the top of it. The other teams that they have getting the buys right now, of course, BYU up there from the Big 12. They have Texas for the SEC having the bye right now, and they still have Miami as the top team in the ACC in their rankings, so they would still be getting that bye. Now, they have a lot of work to do to get that, but they still do have that. Indiana and Alabama in Bloomington. Man, that would be fun. You'd have to go down for that one. I mean, come on. Alabama and Indiana, college football playoff on campus in Bloomington, that's a must-have for you.
In the cold weather in Bloomington and perhaps snow. Like, I've been there at that time of year, obviously, many times, and it's cold. And they get, freezing, snow, the whole deal. I was there for the North Carolina Indiana game at Assembly Hall. It was freezing ass. I remember walking them. I walked like 5 blocks. I almost froze to death. I was just dying. So Alabama's not used to that. They're not interested in that kind of weather and playing in that weather. They never play in that weather. They play in SEC title games inside at the Benz in Atlanta, and they play in national championship games in cozy, warm spots. The only advantage I think Indiana has over Alabama, because Alabama's flat out better than Indiana as far as I'm concerned at playing football. And they proved it against LSU, didn't they? They will kill Indiana, but if it's freezing cold, Alabama's going to have problems. Wind and cold, they don't want any part of. Not one of those dudes on that team is used to that.
Yeah, they wouldn't want any part of it, indeed. Ole Miss, Penn State, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Boise, and Ohio State. Georgia on the outside looking in. Now, look, I know.
What a shame.
you really don't want to get too beat up about this stuff because there is so much time left, and it's going to look completely different in a few weeks. You know this. Georgia would beat. They would beat Penn State. They would probably, if they played Ole Miss on a neutral field, probably beat them. They've already beaten, a couple of these teams. They'd beat Notre Dame. They're going to play Tennessee this week.
I don't agree with you that they beat Ole Miss. They just got their ass beat by Ole Miss.
I'm saying in a second game, neutral field, and maybe at their place. I don't think there's that much that separates Georgia and Ole Miss. I don't think there's that much that separates. Ole Miss beat them at their place. I think Georgia would beat them at their place. I think it's close.
I don't think that Georgia has the receivers that Beck has been used to in Bowers, etc. He doesn't have that. They're not the same. And I think Dart does have that, and he's got a defense that's better than Georgia's, flat out. I think Ole Miss has the best defense maybe in the country, without a doubt. And that's why they won that game. So I think they can beat Georgia wherever they play them.
Like Penn State is so high on this. Penn State's not going to lose another game just because of who they're playing. They're going to keep Penn State that high. I think all these teams are better than Penn State. I think these teams are better than Notre Dame. It's just weird how they have it kind of framed right now, but they all have their reasons for it. And I'm sure, like we said, it'll all shake out at the end of the day. But that's a typical
Penn State at Beaver Stadium.
We've talked about that. Any of these SEC teams go to Penn State for that college football playoff. I don't care which one of them. Pick any of them. They'll win. They will absolutely win. I agree with you 100%. They'll win, no doubt. And I think that wherever Notre Dame would go, if they had to go to any of these teams, I think it would be very.
To Knoxville, they're going down.
I would agree. Now, look, if Tennessee, it sounds like they're not going to have Nico this week. Their quarterback against Georgia, so they're going to lose this week between the edges.
I thought he was playing. I'm under the impression that this kid's playing.
It's kind of back. It sounds like it's a little back and forth.
I can't ever say his name.
Yeah, I'm Aleva, but it sounds like it's a little, still very much a questionable situation for him on Saturday. Whether he plays or he doesn't, they lose, and they'll probably tumble right out of it like Georgia did this week. So this is still very fluid. There's a lot to do, but I'm sure you were happy that Miami was still up there in the eyes of the committee as the best team in the ACC.
I mean, they got a loss in the ACC, and, SMU doesn't. So
right.
I'm a little sketchy on that. But listen, they got problems. They got to play 2 more tough games. They can screw that up nice and juicy.
Yes, they certainly can. So we'll do plenty of that later on today. We've got other stuff to do as well. Crazy finishes and big upsets in those NBA Cup games last night. About Atlanta winning in Boston. You had Spoelstra pulling a Weber and calling that timeout at the end of the Miami-Detroit overtime and gave that game to the Pistons. The T-Wolves got smacked in Portland by the Trailblazers. Sleepwalking in that game. So there was some crazy games that we will discuss from last night. Knicks won in Philly, and of course you had the Clay game. And Clay played well in Golden State.
All those props, every one of them.
6 threes, 25. What do you have? 22, 23 points. And but who got him at the end? Who had the last laugh? Steph Curry.
Curry.
Sleep.
He scored their last 12. Unbelievable.
He did.
What'd you think of the Kentucky win over Duke?
I thought even though Kentucky won, Cooper Flagg was what I was impressed with. Even though Kentucky won the game. He's ridiculous.
And they're going back to Richardson in Indianapolis.
Yes.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You can catch Sports Rage weeknights at 10 East, 7 West. We get him on Coast to Coast. Gabe Morency every day from Vancouver with a double shot. We all had to eat the crow hoagie today on Klay Thompson, who went off last night in that game at the Chase in San Francisco. I guess he was fired up about going back there because he hit 6 threes. He went way over that 16 and a hook. And they almost won the game, but they didn't because his old pal Curry knocked down daggers in the last 12 for the Dubs, and they win it and they cover.
A lot of these games are overhyped and a little bit over dramatic. Last night was a special return with Klay Thompson, but for the love of God, Scott, if you're going to lose a bet, I'd rather lose it early. And we lost it early. I bet under 2.5 3-point shots made at plus 145. I figured, all right, we're getting plus money. There's only been 2 games this year he's gone over this number. and then, boom, he literally had like 3 in the first quarter. We took the Warriors, and we had the over as well. So we escaped when it was all said and done. But props to Klay. It was a lot of fun. You know, he slowed down a little bit as the game went off. But like you said, Scott, he dropped like 15 freaking points, bro, in like the first half, like right away. Yeah, it was something to see. You know what I mean? He dug down deep, and good for him, right? You know what? I sort of got that feel. I didn't think they were going to win the game. I thought Golden State would find a way to win the game, but how about Curry as well, Scott? Like going back to the Olympics and carrying over into this year, like it's like he's a new person. You see him last night yelling into the camera and. Like, wow, like this guy, the level of basketball that Curry's been playing for the last, 8 months or something is insane right now.
27 shots he fires up. I mean, he is just throwing it at the rack. 5 threes. He had 37 points, 6 boards, 9 dimes, 4 of 5 from the line, had a couple of steals. Think about it, his age and everything, that he's still putting in across the board numbers in every stat and category in the game. It's crazy.
You know what's funny too? People always talk all the time about LeBron and Kevin Durant and and even Anthony Edwards now, new face of the league. It's kind of crazy to say, but Curry kind of doesn't even get the respect he deserves, Scott. You know what I mean? In the big picture? Like, it's almost like, oh, but he's just a shooter. Number one, he's not just a shooter. But it's like, okay, that's like sort of saying like Ovechkin, all he is a shooter, and all he does is score goals, right? Well, he scored the second most goals in the history of the league, and is about to pass Wayne Gretzky. So I think that Curry overall, just as a player, as a leader, as a competitor, Scott, he's not just a three-point shooter. I think some people, Curry just shoots the ball. This guy can take it to the rack. You see it all the time. He's really good at taking it to the rack. He's gotten much better on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, he really is one of the greatest players ever, just point blank.
What did you think of, I took the Hawks in the 16 and they beat the Celtics outright in Boston. You got to be kidding me. I almost fell over.
Yeah, the Celtics will do this. And I swear, didn't the Hawks do this to them last year too, Scott? Same thing. And it was like, I can't believe they lost to the Hawks. I might have been in Atlanta at the time. But we're at the time of the year now where I think you can catch the Boston. Guys, last year the Boston Celtics did this often. And it was the Hawks off the top of my head. And in fact, I think they blew like an 18-point lead or 20-point lead against the Hawks. The Celtics have been known to do this, right? They'll get complacent, they'll get cocky, and they literally won't get up for a bad team, right? And now, you notice you start to get into the part of the season, too. I think players, they had that original adrenaline jump, like off the start of the season, Scott. You're starting to see some teams are starting to hit the wall already. Players are starting to get hurt a bit. And yeah, quickly, too, as long as we're talking NBA, how about Grady Dick, bro? 32 last night, Scott. This kid's becoming a real deal. It's not just like a one-off. It's like a nightly basis.
He can play.
Yeah, remember, he was a big part of that Kansas team that won the championship, Scott.
Yeah.
Big part of that team.
Player. He's a great player. Listen, I'll tell you this, though. Embiid was terrible last night. Now, I know he's been out.
I'm done with him. I told you yesterday.
Right.
I said, who cares?
But he could barely run and breathe in that first quarter. He had to leave the game. Then he went into the room.
Jake Paul should fight him, Scott. He can barely run and breathe. Next opponent for Jake Paul.
Do you think that guy is going to knock out Mike Tyson, or what do you think will happen Friday night?
Oh, God. I don't even like, I'm sorry I brought it up. I don't even like, I don't like justifying it or like, you know what I mean? Like,
making it matter.
Condoning it, so to speak. I don't know. I just saw a video of Mike Tyson. And I was kind of like, dude, he looks old, bro.
He is old.
Like people can say, oh, he looks like a beast. Yeah, he looks like a beast hitting a punching bag for 10 seconds. But what's going to happen after exactly. And he's an old dude. The guy's done a lot of coke. He's drank a lot of alcohol, bro. Like he's not like, you know what I mean? Uncle Jim 58 that, has a glass of wine once a week. Like, he's an old 58, Scott. You know what I mean? This guy's been gangbanging since he's 8 years old, right? Like, so the thing is, I don't think much of Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul's hustle. God bless him. You've talked your way into this stuff, and you know what? You're a multimillionaire by running your mouth. So good for you. But I don't really think he's good or anything like that. But with that being stated, as a betting man, Scott, the over-under is 5.5. I don't know. Tyson might have a freaking heart attack before round 6. So I don't think it gets to 6 rounds. Or maybe Tyson clips him in the first round and knocks him out, which I doubt.
I mean, if he's smart, he comes out and just starts throwing bombs and tries to get it over with, because I don't think he lasts either. I think he'll get tired at some level, but he can throw those big bombs. He'd hurt that dude. If he lands one of them, he's going to hurt him.
But the thing is, Paul's going to know this, right? Paul does have smart people around him. So Paul's going to know. They're going to tell him, listen, the only time this is really dangerous for you, bro, is going to be the first 30, 45 seconds. Because Tyson's not going to pace himself. Tyson's going to figure, you know what? I'm going to knock this kid the F out, and I'm just going to go for it right away. If Paul survives that, I think he sort of picks him apart after, and I can see Tyson. I don't think it's going to be a long fight either way. We'll put it that way.
We'll talk about the 3 college football games. We'll break some bread on the Commanders and Eagles Thursday night, and talk Bills Chiefs with Morency coming up.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take the room.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's look at these three MACtion games tonight. You got Kent at Miami of Ohio. They're laying 31. Kent State's 0-9. Eastern Michigan's getting 11.5 at Ohio. That's an actually decent game. And then Akron's at NIU getting 14.5.
These MAC games are a lot funner, or at least like one of them will be fun per night. Like unlike the Conference USA was rough. Remember, Scott, we were talking about those 14-5 Sam Houston State, Middle Tennessee State games. And it's like, dude, man, there's more points in a soccer game than there is in your football games. And it's not because you have good defense, it's just bad football. So last night, Ball State and Buffalo was an epic, crazy game, man. The Buffalo Bulls came back. They needed a 2 to score late. They got the 2. They won in overtime. They're bowl eligible. So a fun moment last night in Amherst, New York, outside of Buffalo. Similar situation tonight, Scott, and I got to be honest with you. I don't understand the point spread in this one tonight with Eastern Michigan and Ohio. Yeah. EMU were good. EMU were good. They're a 5-4 football team. They're one, and it matters to the MAC. These teams. They're one win away from bowl eligibility right now. And Scott, they're 7-2 against the spread. Like they're in every football game they play or they win. They've lost 2 in a row. They lost 29-28 and 25-21. Those were their 2 losses that they just lost. Very close games, very competitive football team. Ohio don't blow teams out. This is a little bit, I know that they blew out Buffalo and Kent State are terrible, but I think Ohio are just getting a little bit overpriced here. Eastern Michigan are a scrappy team, a great underdog over the years, and it just continues. I don't understand the double digits in that game. The next one here, I do understand the double digits, right? Like, there's going to be a live dog a night in the MAC, but there's also going to be blowouts. We saw last night Toledo just murdered Central Michigan, and I sort of get the same feeling here, guys. You look at Akron, they're a 2-7 football team, but they do get punched in the mouth, right? Like they're only 3-6 against the spread. They have played better football as of late. But Northern Illinois, we talk about, much better than their 5-4 record. We saw them last week dial it up a notch. They're not even bowl eligible considering they beat Notre Dame already, Scott. So that's the underdog that I don't want to touch tonight. I think NIU win the game. For the record, though, I don't love laying 14 points. I think the over here, guys, 43.5 is far too light. Northern Illinois games are getting priced like it's the old school NIU that just used to run the ball with Rocky Lombardi every play. They can throw the ball. They move the ball, this football team. We saw it last week. We've seen it the past couple of weeks. They hung 42 on the board last week. The week before, they scored 23. So I think this offense has woken up a little bit. Plus, Akron can't stop anybody. So, to me, the best bet in this game, guys, forget about laying the points. If just like the solid best bet in this game to me is the over 43.5. And like you said, Scott, this last one here, you got Kent State and Miami. Man, Kent State are bad, guys. Here's another one. They're 0-9. They're 2-7 against the spread. They're coming off a 41-0 loss last week to Ohio. The week before that, they lost at Western Michigan 52-21. So you see, they are capable of getting blown out like this. But with all that being stated, I don't want to lay 30.5 points, Scott. with Miami, I'm not rich enough to do that, bro. I'm not rich enough to do that.
So, what's your early lean on the Commanders and Eagles tomorrow at the Link?
My early lean is the Eagles. I hate that hook at 3.5. I think the spread's just a little high, but the Eagles are starting to flex their muscles now as being as good as they are. I think, that people kind of confused with the narrative. Is Nick Sirianni kind of clownish with the media? Yes. Right? Is Nick Sirianni kind of a goofy dude? Yes. Is Nick Sirianni a bad coach? No. This football team is rolling right now, and specifically on defense. Ever since their bye week, it's really clicked for them on defense. They're terrorizing people. From everything I hear about Philadelphia, they're all like, "Oh, the light bulb sort of went on figuring out Vic Fangio's defense." Right, that a new coordinator.
Right,
and you kind of notice Washington are starting to slip a little bit. Close loss. We saw Chicago unravel after that really heartbreaking loss. I could see Washington stumbling into this game, Scott. I like Philadelphia.
So, Allen and Mahomes, two biggest rivals in the NFL?
Yeah, you know what? I have to say so right now. Isn't it the best rivalry? I'd say the best rivalry is San Francisco and KC because they played in 2 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. But it's almost like the new Brady-Manning matchup, right? Before Manning won. You know what I'm saying? Great stuff.
All right, kid. Have a good night, buddy.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take the room.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, "Oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you."
Quarterly, I missed you pinching your own cheek because I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Make sure you get the SportsGrid app on iOS or Android in the Play Store. You're going to love it. It's free, and you can listen to the network on this thing. You can watch the network in HD on this app. It's phenomenal. It's got stories, videos, highlights, in-game odds, you name it, it's there. The SportsGrid app, you're going to love it on iOS and Android. Make sure you check us out on X, streaming now, always. Just look up SportsGrid-Live. And by the way, you can get the podcasts for Coast to Coast and Ferrall on a Bench on iTunes and wherever you find podcasts every day. So if you miss Carver High and Uncle Futrelli, then you don't have to miss us. You can get it on the podcast, the entire 3 hours of C2C, setting the bar high over here on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. As we continue on a Wednesday, we go back to the game at the Chase in the city, in the way.
Yeah, we'll start there on what was a pretty fun night with the first night of the NBA Cup, which we said maybe we would see some better games. I thought you did on the first night, that's for sure. Warriors and the Mavericks at the Chase. The story here was Klay Thompson returning back to face his old team. Warriors with the win, 120-117. Some big nights all around. Curry had 37 for the Warriors. Luka had 31 for the Mavs, and Klay Thompson had 6 threes and 22 in his return back. Close game throughout the night. Final minute, 1-point lead for the Warriors. Despite Klay coming home, Curry showed him a little bit of his vintage self on TNT.
Doncic will defend Curry. A screen by Green. The switch to Lively. 3. Curry.
Wow. I mean, he's just Dagger City from everywhere, and he gets that space. I love that move, too. Like, you dribble into the guy, and then the big step back, and you get that space, and he just lets it fly so quickly. When he lands his back foot, the ball's already leaving his hoist, and he's just pure.
He certainly is. A tremendous night for him. Klay Thompson being back against his old team, of course, you would expect very emotional for
very
Klay
emotional.
afterwards. Very emotional.
It was a really cool experience. I appreciate the fans very much. The captain's hat ended up being a great touch. So I'm such a passionate boater, and I saw a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. And, that was a warm-hearted feeling. So it was really cool to see the fans, their gratitude towards myself, and something I will never take for granted. So it was very, very awesome.
There you go. It's very emotional.
Very touching for Klay last night going back. Look, he played well for the first time this year. So it's always that.
Notice
I mean, that's
the difference when this guy goes home and when Paul George goes to L.A. They boo him.
Yeah.
And then this guy goes back and they cheer him. I mean, there wasn't one person in the entire arena booing him.
Because this is like what we talked about with George last week. When you bring championships, it's very hard, unless you tell the whole city, I hate being here. It's very hard for them to boo you when you come back, when you've won them something. As good as Klay was for the Warriors, you can't. That's an unbooable situation, is what that is. There's very few of them in sports, but when you win a bunch of titles, it's an unbooable situation. Elsewhere last night, the defending champs, the Boston Celtics, they kind of thought that they were just going to go through the motions, walk in the park. Hawks are here without Trae Young. We're not going to have any problems at all. Yeah, think again. They end up blowing a double-digit second-half lead, and they lose 117-116. Hawks getting it done in the final moments. Your boy Okonkwo with the tip in here on NBA TV.
With 28. He gets the ball out top. Holiday bumps Daniels, who spins into the lane. Can't score. Tap in is good. It's Okonkwo. Hawks have the lead with 6.1 left.
There you go. And I had the 16 points in the Hawks. How do you like them apples?
That win by the Hawks, biggest upset of the season, obviously. It's only a couple weeks old. Fourth biggest outright win against the spread upset in NBA history.
Right.
They were plus 900 on the money line in that game, getting the 16.5, and they win outright against the Celtics in this NBA.
I hate the Celtics. They lose at the Garden in the NBA Cup first game. Like, are you kidding me? That was delicious. I couldn't get enough of that.
And look, I think we do this sometimes. These teams that win the title, they come back a little, you want to call it a hangover, call it whatever you want. They never lost at home last year. What did they lose all last year? Twice at home the entire season? They've now lost twice in the first couple weeks of the season, and they almost lost a third. The Nets should have had them last Friday night. They ended up beating them in overtime. So the Celtics have been very sloppy to start this season. Here is Jaylen Brown basically telling you that we thought we were just going to roll the ball out there and win, and that didn't happen.
I think mentally we just was too careless tonight. We expected to win, too careless, and it showed. I think the number one category it showed was on our turnovers. Uncharacteristic of us to have 20 turnovers and under any circumstance. I just think that just displayed
I enjoyed it.
That we wasn't in sync like we normally were. So we got to be better at that, and I got to be better at that.
Yeah, whatever. But how about this guy, Dyson Daniels? 28 points. Jalen Johnson had a triple-double, 18, 13, and 10, and no one's ever heard of either one of them. Like, there's no Trae Young, and this guy and this other fella, you get Daniels and Johnson just both going off in this game. It's crazy. I mean, let's face facts. No one's heard of a Kongwu either.
Pretty much nobody here has heard of any of these guys on Atlanta who they were running out there last night. But good start for them in the NBA Cup, which we know Boston doesn't care about. What did you think of the courts? Then we'll do the Pistons and the Heat when we come back. Now, they do the crazy. Some people were crying about how hard it was to watch the game because it was so bright on the screen with the court. Shut up. It's
honestly,
something different. What would you say? Have a sandwich about the courts.
I didn't have a problem with it at all. I thought they were all really cool. And, that's the thing. You can never please anybody. Half of the people love it. Half of the people hate it. It's like anything else. Politics. You got one side, the left, the right. Everybody's, disagrees with everybody. Husbands and wives, brothers and sisters. You never get anybody agreeing on anything. So I don't give a rat's ass what you think of the basketball courts. I liked them. I didn't have a problem with them. I like basketball. I don't care what they play on. I mean, I've seen them play on the top of battleships. I mean, I've seen everything. So those courts don't faze me. I think they're trippy. I think they're wild looking. I think they're in short order. They're only going to use them for this, and then they're gone. So get over yourself, honestly.
People just like having something to complain about. Staying with the upset theme of last night, also sleepwalking were the Timberwolves, who lost in Portland, of all places.
I keep telling you.
122 to 108. I mean, they just looked like they didn't want to be there. I watched a little bit of the game in the second half. I was like, are they ever going to turn it on? No.
They traded Cat Towns. They wanted Randall and DiVincenzo. And ever since they got them, they're 6-5. And they literally think that all they have to do is walk out on the floor and they got a dub because of this season that they had last year. And let's not forget, they lost. Okay? They went far. There's no doubt they were a really good team, but they're a different team now. I mean, they're a different team. You see what Cat Towns can bring every night. He can have these bombs and hit, score tons of points, get tons of rebounds. That's all gone now.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all people. What in
in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, some of the games surprised me for sure, and the Pistons was another one at Little Sleezers. They got it done against the Heat, and I've never seen not only Spo screw up, but he got emotional about it. I thought was he crying?
We will see if he was in a moment. I do have Spo for you after we play the clip. So here's the deal. Pistons had a lead in this game in the fourth. He'd come all the way back, spurred by listen to this line for Tyler Hero last night, Scotty. Your boy had 40 points. He hit 10 threes. He was 10 of 17 from downtown. As he gets the Heat into overtime, he'd have the lead in overtime, and that's where this sets up in the final seconds. Pistons are down 2, and they're inbounding the ball. Miami has no timeouts yet. Remember that as we listen to this clip on FanDuel Sports Sun.
Cunningham, nobody's guarding him. And it comes through and dunks it. Oh, my. Unbelievable. In 0.7 of a second, they tie the game at 121. The Pistons are walking off the court. Who called timeout?
Oh, no. The referee is saying that Coach Spo has called a timeout. That's a technical foul as the Heat are out of timeouts.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy is right.
Oh, boy.
Incredible execution by the Pistons. To get an uncontested dunk for Duren with 1.8 seconds left.
So that's how they lost. But listen, it is what it is. Hero, though, those numbers, 40 points, 5 boards, 8 dimes, 10 of 17 from 3. Do you realize that no one in NBA history has ever had that stat line? Ever.
Wow.
It's the only guy to ever do it. To have 40, 5, 8, and 10 threes. And he also had 4 steals in the game. And that is included in the package of no one's ever done it before. His stat line was so magnificent last night. It's never been done before in the NBA's history. He's been lighting it up lately, Mike. Tyler gained 10 pounds of muscle in the offseason, and he looks like it. And he's had all kinds of, knick-knack injuries over the last couple of years. But there's no denying that he can ball. And the 10 pounds of muscle, he's hoping alleviates some of that injury bug that he's had. And he has been, over the last couple weeks, just every single game, his last 5 or 6 games, this guy has gone off scoring.
He has gone off, and he's had to carry the mail. Obviously, there was no Jimmy Butler last night, which is a frequent occurrence as well for the Heat. So there was no Butler, so Hero was able to get it done, unfortunately for them. Spoelstra didn't. Here he was, you mentioned emotional after the game.
And then I just made a serious mental error, there at the end. That's on my, that's on me. I feel horrible about it. There's really no excuse for that. I'm 17 years in. We had talked about it in the huddle. I knew that we didn't have anything. I just got emotional and reactive on that, and I just made a horrendous mistake there at the end. It's a shame, because we really fought back. We had some great defensive possessions, hustle possessions, those 50-50 balls, and then Tyler was just sensational. You don't want it to come down to a mental error like that.
Things happen. I've never seen him screw up like that, but I think he's a great coach.
You lose, though. That's what matters. You lose. That's it. That's how it goes. You lose for the Sixers as well at home against the Knicks last night, 111-99. Good night for Cat. I know the stat line doesn't really maybe jump out at you for Karl Anthony Towns, but he made some unbelievable plays on both sides of the court last night, both ends on TNT.
Payne in his return, and he misses. And Towns able to keep it alive for Payne, who sets up Anunoby. And look at Towns active, and Anunoby with a two-handed jam.
Well, that's just New York.
Joel Embiid have not gone his way. Oh, how about that pass? Karl Anthony Towns right behind the ear.
So every starter was in double figures. I thought Anunoby's 24 was huge. Frankly, I thought Deuce McBride's 15 was huge, and his burn off at a bench. They just had everyone. You get 6 guys in double figures, you're going to win a lot in the NBA. And again, I thought Embiid was awful. He really was. 2 of 11 from the floor. He hit 1 3. If he didn't hit 8 free throws, he would have had like the worst night of his career. And he looked horribly out of shape and gassed.
And think about this. He had 13 points, like you said. 8 were from free throws. And of the 11 shots he took, 5 were threes. So it's not like if he was even working down low. He was just sitting out on the key and just heaving things up. Now, I know he's not playing tonight. Him and George are both not playing tonight. Right. Out with, quote-unquote left knee management. I'm playing this anyway just because we talk about this guy all the time. And what a D he could be with some of this stuff. So here he is last night basically saying, well, I know I told you I wasn't going to play any back-to-backs, but I might anyway. Here we go.
Did you expect to play tomorrow?
I want to. That's up to those guys. I know I said I will never play back-to-backs, but I'm a troll, so I'm sure at some point I'll play. But I feel good right now. We're going to see.
I guess not.
But it's up to them.
They're not going to let him play, and George isn't playing either. And then, I just think it puts a massive amount of pressure on Maxey and Lowry and Oubre and Martin to perform at a high level with no bench. Like you know what I mean? They're just not the same team at all with those 2 guys out of the lineup. No one's afraid of them without those 2.
And they're already also, I know you mentioned, they're already without Maxey too. So you're going to go into this game tonight without all 3 of them.
Yeah, he's already out with the ankle. It never ends, their problems.
So.
I don't know who has more problems. I think the Pelicans have more problems than they do, but they're, 2-8. They lose every night. Right. They're going to lose tonight.
Yeah, they're going to lose tonight as well. All right, I'll finish up last night with you. I'll give you some of the best and the worst against the spread. And then we got to get into tonight's games. Another big slate, actually, in the NBA tonight. Plenty of games.
These aren't cup games, though. Those are only on Tuesdays and Fridays.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Mike, I was surprised at how poorly the Hornets and Raptors performed last night in their opening cup games, to be honest.
Yeah, we went through a lot of fun games last night, and there were some close finishes, but there was also some bad games, some blowouts, as there typically is in the NBA. Magic beat the Hornets 114-89. No show there. Bucks beat the Raptors 99-85 in Milwaukee. And the Suns beat the Jazz 120-112. Booker had a good night. He had 30 for the Suns as they played well in the second half. So all those teams getting a win there in their first NBA Cup games. Greg Popovich has obviously been missing from the San Antonio Spurs bench. Of course, that news came out last week. Now we know why. Scotty suffered a stroke on November the 2nd. Obviously no timetable for when he's going to be back. We spend a lot of time with Greg from here to there, but hopefully he does well, Scotty, and gets himself back out there.
Yeah, that's some scary stuff, and he's not a spring chicken. You start having strokes. I mean, my dad had him, he died. That was it. Like, you know what I mean? You start getting up there, you start having strokes. It's a problem. It's an issue. So you never know. I mean, they talk about he's fine and all the rest, that he'll be back and everything else. You start having strokes, you start thinking about your longevity and the rest of your life, and he may not keep coaching. You never know. I think there's a chance he could step away completely. They say he's fine. I don't know. Like, I mean, the things like that, and I had open heart surgery, you have heart attacks, you have things like this. This, changes everything. It does. It changes everything. You find out about your mortality in a hurry.
He's 75
He's
now,
old.
Greg Popovich. So it's obviously something major concern for him.
Yeah, Mike, I'm sorry. I'm sick of hearing about, he's not old. Yeah, he is. He's 75. People say, I'm young and all the rest. I'm not young, okay? Let's stop with all the, you're young, you're fine. I had open heart surgery. I'm 59 years old. Like, it's no joke. Like, this guy's 75 having strokes. I don't want to hear it. He's old. That's all there is to it. Now, I know people that are in their 90s. Now, that's really old. And then, Sister Jean's $130. She's doing terrific.
She is doing terrific, which is always good to hear, no doubt. You sent me this morning, and I thought it was hilarious. The Joker so far this year in the NBA, he's in the top 3 in, let's just say, everything. Points, rebounds, assists, offensive rebounds, double-doubles, triple-doubles, post-up points, putback points, touches, second chance points, points in the paint, total passes, points from assists, potential assists. Anything else? He's in the top 3 in
He's in the top 3 of every single category known to man in basketball.
Yeah.
He's literally, he has to be already far and away, running away with the MVP. He dominates basketball.
I think, like you said, I think it was yesterday, him and SGA, right? So I think him, SGA, those are the guys that you're going to be looking for with that award so far, and they got a long way to go.
They want to give it to Luka Doncic so terribly bad. They love him. Meanwhile, he's the biggest pain in the ass in the entire league. There is no way, in my view, you can give the MVP to a guy that all he does is scream and yell at refs the entire night, every night. That's all he does. I know he puts up huge numbers and trip dubs and dimes and buckets, and he's unstoppable. I get all that, but I don't care. Like, remember last year I told you, I can barely watch this guy play. He's so painful with his crying and whining and moaning and complaining. And it's nonstop. It's belly to belly, start of game, end of game. He complains the entire game. I have never in my life seen a guy get an and one call and still complain. The guy, he complains all the way to the free throw line, and he gets the call, and he's still complaining. I'm not putting him in any MVP conversation. All he does is be. That's it. He just bees all night long. Like, I'm sick and tired of his ass. I want guys that are badasses that play, that don't cry and whine to win MVPs and to win championships. I'm glad he lost in the finals. Screw him.
Come back, best and worst against the spread in the NBA and tonight's games we have to do. So
honestly,
we'll do all that.
Are you sick of him?
Yes, I am.
Who isn't?
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.